This is a little late, but as they say, better late than never, right? Anyway, close your eyes and open your mind. I have a present for you. A little something to soul. Allow the wetness to seep in between your toes and cradle your bunions. Worry not, it is but a boon of my affection for your kind. It's a bag on your doorstep. You know the saying, liar, liar, pants on fire, except for I don't really feel like arson that could destroy a home, so instead, a flaming bag of it should be like a mirrored reflection of yourself if you are one of these people. 3, 2, 1. Tomorrow, good people. Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever done something and thought, crap, I shouldn't have done that. I need to apologize or even atone for the things I've said or done because you made a mistake with no intention of it creating whatever ripple effect the deed did, and now you feel a sense of guilt because of it. An apology is like this little ball, right? Transparent and so very heavy that it's carrying the voice of your heart and the heft of that guilt, presented to someone with the hopes that they can see both your sincerity and ashamedness. In a perfect world, it would have a similar weight to the phrase "I love you." They both partake in evaluating the ebbs and flows from one entity to another and the emotions and actions that are attached to that transfer. But apologies are thrown around like a rag doll found in a dumpster dive in search of gold, as though the impact of its intent means nothing and it's worthless by nature. Actually, if you think about it, people treat "I love you" the same way. A placebo effect that shapes and molds a situation or a person to the user's will, all the while allowing them to believe in the sanctity of it all. Welcome to the age where an apology is simply a decorative centerpiece on the mantle of your tongue. Long gone are the days when it actually meant something. Today, it is mostly byproduct of clout chasing or the searing but subtle decline in humanity and its values. All right, that's that's a stretch. We don't really have values that anyone can agree on for more than a century, and if there is a golden age, it's usually followed by pain and suffering, the likes that we've never seen before on this small rock we call home. It could almost be qualified as an epidemic with how consistent and meaningless these apologies are. However, this bug, if you will, seems to affect a certain group of people more, the celebs. That's a bit too limiting. I would say people of influence, but that doesn't really cover it either, because influence literally means to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone or something, right? There's no specifics in there. It's an ever-changing phenomena. And yes, the aliens are still on my mind. Therefore, not only is it societally based, but it can be subjective as well. I went to buy matcha at Starbucks one day. I've never had it before, didn't even know what it was, but a very pretty lady with a very nice car and a very nice home bought it. So in the depths of my brain, I thought, ooh, me too. No, not me too. I didn't like it. But because of personal preferences, I went head first in without even taking anything into consideration, right? I was, if you will, influenced. The point of this story is my friend wouldn't have been influenced by the same pretty lady with the nice car, ergo subjective. So what does our society, we'll use the American perspective given that I am American, and the idea of the American dream is spoon-fed to those both domestic and foreign who appear to be in need of, well, anything. The American dream is the answer. America. Anyway, what does our society view as influential, right? Political prowess, monetary overabundance, physical appearance, big. Let's take a look at a few influential people who've made very public and very heartfelt apologies to understand the disconnect between their apologies and their intentions. This is mostly, based on relevant or recent instances like Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and Drew Barrymore, but for a larger range, we'll also take a look at Will Smith. They've all stuck their foot in the cesspool that the people of influence partake in, that most people of influence partake in, called the "did I do that" syndrome. It's an apology, but in reality, it's more like, sorry, I got caught. Sorry, you're more affected than you should have been. Sorry, I'm racist, but like, come on. Sorry, but did you forget I'm famous? Will Smith. I don't know how that's going to come out, but anyway, let's dig this one up. Not that it's really gone anywhere. No one will ever let him live this down. He's been banished to the Shadow Realm because of it. But if you have been living under a rock or don't partake in most media formats, the incident in question is when Will Smith stormed the stage during the Oscars to smack one right across Chris Rock's face.
Oh, wow. Wow.
After a joke was made. We can't really call it a slap given how intense it was. Like, he cranked his arm so hard. So much so that it shocked the world.
Oh my God. Wait, no. What was that? He's still talking. Oh my God. I would like to move. Somebody, oh my God.
No, but really, there were a lot of people really affected by this. Like, I get it. It was a slap. Just chill the There are people over here talking about how this is going to set us, black people, back so many years. This is besides the apology point we're trying to make, but if an ill-timed, highly publicized slap during an award show between two black men is enough to undo decades of civil rights movements and attempts at education, and the constant struggle to try to convince that not only are we entitled to basic human rights, but the right to thrive and be happy are not determined by whatever the Pawpaw told you when you were just a tyke as he droned on about how life used to be, right? If this moment really did something to the progress of civil rights and human decency, then nothing's really changed about the undercurrent thoughts flowing between the masses, right? We're still running around trying to be on our best behavior so that people see the better side of us. I'm sorry, but the ripple effect and rhetoric that spun up because of this was just so annoying and it pissed me off. Back to Will. Initially, it looked like he was enjoying the joke, but then he saw Jada's response and thought, oh no, not my baby. Although, to be fair, some people thought it was mind manipulation by Jada and her powers for persuasion that, forced him into defending her honor. I don't really know about all that. Anyway, he actually went on to win an Oscar that day. But that's the incident, which of course led to a very public apology. I will say, Will is one of the few people whose mistake wasn't premeditated. He genuinely had a lapse in judgment. He made multiple apologies through different formats, but eventually he followed the template that was set forth by his celeb predecessors. To this point, I think he was being genuine, but because it's so staged and so rehearsed, it just doesn't feel real. It screams my publicist and PR reps think this is what I should say. Not only that, but he acts like he murdered someone. Should he have done the things? No. But a 5-minute apology video complete with Q&A with another person reading you the questions is just too much. The production value on this little apology is undistinguishable from that movie Earth 9962. But that does bring us to Drew Barrymore. The queen herself, the perfect actress and house of beauty and regality and strength to be able to overcome her past and addictions and shine as vibrantly as a newborn star in a galaxy where no other stars can form. She is mother. Well, she's not my mother, like biologically or figuratively, but she is magnificent. I apologize for the tone shift, but I had to. I may or may not be willing for her to do things to me. To what end, I don't know, but she could do things. But she done up. She has since fixed her but before that, she did make the apology.
I wanted to do this because, as I said, this is bigger than me.
In comparison, Drew's transgressions aren't that bad. Stepping up to be a renegade leader, to stand against your fellow man during a time when solidarity is paramount to the success of this movement is not good. But it is singular and attaching the blame only to herself. She decided to start back up her talk show amid the WGA strikes, despite it being against her agreement with the union. Now, I was a little confused about this myself because I'm not accustomed to strikes, but when people are a part of the union like Drew is, they can't do certain things during the strike. Therefore, her main offense was going to be going against the writers. And if she wasn't using her original writers because they're on strike, then she was pawning off of some scab writer who either isn't a part of the union or has also chosen to go against it. Either way, she got dragged for it, which led to her apology. And while I think there is some sincerity in there, I am obviously biased. It follows the same pattern of apologizing for something that was done after copious amounts of planning and conversation. To that point, what are you apologizing for, Drew? That people got mad? That was a given. You wouldn't have planned and gone through the steps you did, including a pre-made message about the whole ordeal if you didn't think it was wrong on some level.
I deeply apologize to writers. I deeply apologize to unions. I deeply apologize.
Don't cry, baby. Don't cry. You fixed it. Now, you listened and you fixed it. Anybody still talking about Drew after she fixed it will face me. What can I do? Not much. But whatever I can do, I will give it my all. Do you understand? But yes, it is as fake as the others, but with maybe a little bit more emotion.
So it turns out, at the time of me editing this, she went ahead and went through with her plans, even though she said she wasn't gonna do it. So yeah, even though it technically started right after the strike, she did bad.
Now, Ashton and Mila have been around the block for a while and are not new to the insightfulness that is controversy. But at the end of the day, nothing's really stuck long enough to matter to their career or lives, getting swept up under the rug like all good news stories do. However, they've recently made the grandiose decision to do something a smidge heinous. They both wrote character letters on behalf of Danny Masterson, who after years of trials and accusations is being sentenced to 30 years in prison for grape. Apparently I have to say it that way for YouTube's sake, but can I just point out that that's an insult to grapes? Like, come on, it's not their fault that it rhymes. They're just tiny and delicious. Anyway, it's important to note that Mila and Ashton weren't the only ones called on to come to Danny's aid. They weren't the only ones who answered that call either. But they are arguably the more relevant people on the list. They wrote letters along with 50 or so other people to the tune of, "He's a great guy. Look at how much he's done for us in the past. Look at his great hair. No one's pulling an afro like him. He won't be able to last in prison. Please take that into consideration. It's debatable whether you're doing your job right and the jury isn't, jaded. But please take into account our words as average people living average lives. Sometimes mistakes are made. Repeatedly. Should he be punished for that?" I summarized for you. You can go look at it if you want to, but trust me, there's not much there, other than the sheer shock of trying to provide character to a person who enjoys the torment of others. Look, we're not here for this particular conversation, right? It's a smidge heavy, messy, and just know the things that happen to people and are ignored, especially when a modicum of influence is involved, are just abhorrent. We're here for the apologies following those private notes. Thankfully, because they're married and live together, we only have to experience it once.
They were intended for the judge to read.
Yeah, we know this. There's no version of you guys that's hitting Twitter with the defense of Danny. But to that point, if you stand by your convictions, why not blast it on social media about what a stand-up guy he is?
To undermine the testimony of the victims or re-traumatize them.
For anyone who didn't know, these letters were read in the courtroom in front of Danny's victims. I'm sorry, because you're not that obtuse. You did mean harm to them at the same time you meant support for your friend. The apology is 2 seconds too long, but it's the wording of some of the things in the apology that seem to loudly negate the victim's statements. Specifically calling out that we've always supported victims and will continue to support victims as we move forward. This apology has nothing to do with being sorry. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. When we think about how involved celeb content from celebs are going through lawyers, advisors, etc., this wasn't a last minute thought. The only thing they're sorry about is the fact that it wasn't limited to the judge and the courtroom. Sorry, they forgot to get the NDAs out to everyone before they left. We've come to understand that these apologies are theatrical reproductions of misguided sincerity, complete with script rewrites, set placement, and peer reviews. And we can all agree that that's wrong. Or is it? No, it's wrong. And covered in the fake waxiness that is Hollywood. But do we actually know what an apology is? I know, I can hear you, right? This is beyond a waste of time and irrelevant. It's 2023. We all know what an apology is. I spent a decent amount of time talking about it in the beginning. Say you're sorry is one of the titular phrases taught as a child, likely before you truly understand what guilt and mistakes are. What did you do? I took off her hair. Why'd you cut off all her hair? Doesn't she look pretty? See, I took off the hair, and she looked like Shrek. The her and Shrek are best friends now. That's all fine and well. How am I supposed to explain to her mother that she needs to look like a swamp troll? He's an ogre. You still think Samantha looks better bald? You said sorry anyway because it's the right thing to do. But what does it mean to do the right thing, especially when you're a child, when you're still learning to exist? Based on information from Baby Center, telling I know, children start to feel empathy and understand their effect on people and things around them at about 4 years old. But they're still 4, right? Egocentrism will still be the bread and butter of their cognitive thinking. It won't be until they're closer to 7 or 9 that they can even understand how to view an issue from another person's perspective. So in this case, the kid is 4, doesn't fully understand why she can't cut Samantha's hair, and is perplexed as to why everyone's mad about it. But she will apologize anyway. Plus, apparently her mother can't have fun Friday cocktails with Samantha's mother if she didn't. The point is, we are taught that something we do is wrong by whatever standards the time and place deem as wrong. We should offer our apology, if only to nullify those around us. Being genuine about it is a nice plus, but it really is to remain societally compliant with the character stats of an average Joe, or Joanna, or Jessie. I think that's her gender neutral name. All are welcome. All are welcome to subscribe and like the video too. This hasn't always been the case though, as with most languages, the origin and roots meant something else. Something more sinister and diabolical, if you will, something full of darkness and despair. From the times before, when blood and hopelessness flooded the streets in lieu of food and water. Mommy, where did you go? It's so dark and I miss you so. Mommy. Sorry about that. People are still spending time trying to decipher the actual meaning of words used in the Bible from the original language. It's one of the most read and reviewed pieces of text out there. It stands that the meaning of apology is now different than it once was. Originally, an apology was a defense statement. It wasn't until roughly the end of the 16th century that the meaning shifted into what we know it to mean today. So if we apply this understanding to the cases from earlier, they're not that far off. And history is supposedly destined to repeat itself on a never-ending loop until all manner of life and beings cease to exist. So maybe this is one of the cycles showing up. I can see it now. The beginning of the end, the reversion of the apology, or something like that. But are we genuinely at that point? Where the norm is just to defend yourself so that people understand your actions and through that, forgive you. Perhaps, but there's one glaring thing we're missing in this analysis. The review sample has only been about people who can pull headlines and have multiple someones actually care. Sam's mom from down the road, who hosts the monthly potluck, is nice and all, but she isn't gonna make any form of headlines for lying about sucking one off the
Have you lost your mind, children?
I was scolded. This is YouTube. Have some decorum. I was just trying to make an equivalent reference to Bill Clinton, although, yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. He got into trouble and was impeached for lying under oath, not because Monica Lewinsky did things to him, but he lied so that his standing in society wouldn't change, the same way Sam's mom did. Well, then what's the difference? Other than the law part of it and their level of influence and therefore the sheer amount of scrutiny they're under. But their motivations behind the lie were the same. Thankfully, there's a theory tied to this field of thought and therefore a phrase, and we can stop loosely explaining this. The Goffman dramaturgical theory suggests that a person's identity is not a stable and independent psychological entity, but rather it is consistently remade as the person interacts with others. Basically, we have an identity or face that we wear around others that creates and strengthens the perception of us that we want these groups to see. Ironically, it's in that visage that we eventually trap ourselves. Will, Ashton, Mila, and Drew exist on a platform that's held up by the public's assumption of their character and the subsequent rules they must abide by to stay true to that character. We expect them to be kind, thoughtful, and understanding because that's the perception they've put out. We expect them to be honest, forthcoming, and decent people because of that very same perception. But the character that we see and the character they are when we're not looking and the lights and cameras have all shut off are different. Following the path set forth by Goffman, we can separate these shifting personas into front stage and backstage characters. A front stage character is a persona that the audience, or in this case, the public, is meant to see, the one that is carefully crafted and has to stick to the mold for appearances. And in turn, the backstage character is the persona that exists outside of the performance, where actions aren't made for the development of a character, but rather just because. I'm going to use Drew for this because I love her. She was great in Firestarter. Drew's front stage character, the Yusef goodwill ambassador, loving and down-to-earth actress who has overcome her addictions and helped others along in their journey. Talk show host, friend. Drew's backstage character deals with stalkers, has her children, fights with the paparazzi, etc. Now, the backstage character doesn't have to be bad. It's just that it's not the image that the person wants the world to see. Drew dealing with the paparazzi, twisting her words and trying to protect her children's anonymity are everyday things for her, but she won't push the actions or effects of others' actions to the front stage because it doesn't fit the persona that the public knows of her. That's why paparazzis have such an in-demand job and are so hated. They spend a lot of time trying to remove the draw curtain between those two stages and reveal as much of the backstage character as possible, often lying just to get somewhere. On my High School Musical tip, we're all in this together. Sorry. This is a select to people lying or apologizing and whatnot. We all do this. We all have a work face. We have I'm tired but don't want to be here face but need to. We all keep face because silently society demands our best. That was a long one, but it does come full circle. Apologies are our way of attempting to reset the stage when too much of our backstage character comes to the front. We could mean them or we could mean them simply for necessity. Mila and Ashton didn't mean that they were sorry about their actions. They stand by them. They stand by Danny. They're sorry it didn't fit with who we know them to be.
How could they defend a rapist?
Will meant his apology, but he didn't mean to do it, but his apology was more to the people who were disappointed in him and not to Chris.
How could he do something like that on live TV?
Drew, my sweet Drew. I don't think she meant it. I'm sorry, but I don't. She's planned too much to come with an apology afterwards. She was sorry about how mad people got. She thought her front stage character was large enough to handle the spillover, and it just wasn't.
How could she step on the Union like that? Doesn't she care?
So, what is the value of an apology? It's not what you put into it. It's not your sincerity, your pain, your tears. It's society's perception of you that will determine if your apology is real or fake, if it has meaning. You're not apologizing for you, you're apologizing for them. And if no one believes any of it, your apology means nothing. Therefore, there is no back. It was for them. There is no forward. They don't care nor believe you. It's just moot. Apologize at your own will, but understand that it doesn't actually matter. Anyway, let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. I'm interested in what you think about this, given that I wasn't even intending for the topic or the direction to go this way, but I kind of like it. Let me know. I don't know if I said the things. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you guys in the next one. Did I tell you I play video games live? Okay, bye.